complex, more of a cluster of buildings rather than a small town. And I turned my focus to the road in front of us. The turnoff that the officer had reported is only a couple of minutes beyond the town, and I wanted to get a good look at the crash site so we could get it out easier. The lights of a stop state police car came into view, and Albert slowed the truck, no doubt wondering, as was I, why there was only a state car there. We were a good way into the res, and the Navajo cops preferred to handle these cases themselves without getting the state authorities involved. The two other times I'd seen cases like this, the cars were at the scene where the res police, and even then there was always two. This was weird. The truck slowed to a stop beside the car, and Albert rolled the window down, looking to the other vehicle's open window. I leaned forward and stared into the police car. It was a red minivan with its front buried in the dirt, and all of its doors wide open, and junk spewing out onto the ground. This was going to be a tough job. "Howdy, you're Officer Peterson, no?" asked Albert. The officer turned to look at him wearing a trooper hat and dark shades so large that you could barely make out sickly-looking skin around his beard. He looked like he'd been living in a cabin in the hills for the past year. A few long seconds after Albert had spoken to him, he nodded in such a robotic manner that it reminded me of druggies that I had gone to school with. Albert's eyes flicked from the car to the wrecked van. "You're sure we can get this one moving and it won't disrupt anything? Have the techs gotten out here yet?" The officer nodded stiffly again, and Albert shot me a worried look. As I'd previously mentioned, I had a fairly serious record, and so did my boss. Pissing off some nutjob cop would be real bad for the both of us, but so would cleaning up a crime scene. After nearly a minute of tense silence, I felt something push into my side, and I looked down and saw Albert palming his flip phone towards me. I grabbed it and held it in my hand, uncertain of what to do. "Go set up the hazard cones," he said, speaking louder than he normally did. I turned and popped the door, sliding out of the seat. Before I was all the way out, he whispered, "Call the non-emergency line and ask if there's an officer here." I nodded, closing the door and scurrying to the back of the truck. I dialed the number for the dispatch line and shoved the phone against my ear with my shoulder, grabbing the traffic cones and the flashlight that were kept in a storage panel in either hand. I set out the cones on the road south, then shuffled around the headlights to set up the other pair. All this time, obscenely loud "please hold" message is blaring in my ears so loud that I'm wincing, and its message